Today we're going to talk about one-point perspective. So to get started, you're going to need a pencil, a paper, and a ruler. An eraser might be a good idea too. So the first thing we're going to do is in the middle of our paper, we are going to put a horizon line. We're going to have a line going across. Now you don't have to draw that with a ruler. You can freehand it if you want to, but this is called a horizon line. This is where the sky meets the earth. We also need to put a tiny little dot in the middle. And don't make it very large, just a small dot. That is called our vanishing point. Okay. The next thing you're going to do, I want you to draw a square on top of this line. So one of the things we need to talk about are parallel lines. And parallel lines are two lines that go in the exact same direction that never cross. So think about a railroad track. And a railroad track has two lines that are parallel, they never cross. And as we go back, if we're standing in the middle of the railroad track and we go back and we're looking down, the lines look as though they appear to touch. That's the vanishing point. But we know that if we continue to walk down that railroad track, those lines, those two lines on either side, never actually come together and never touch. So parallel lines can be vertical, parallel lines can be horizontal, and parallel lines can be diagonal. So we're going to be using parallel lines that are vertical and horizontal. We're also going to be using some guidelines. So I want you to just do a little dashed line up here. This is going to be a guideline. I'm not the best speller. And then a straight line is going to be our permanent line. Okay, just so that we can understand the difference between the two. So a guideline means that it's a temporary line that we may be erasing part of it. If we draw a straight line, that means that it's a line that we are keeping. So over here, we're just going to freehand. This is just practice. We're going to freehand. Notice I have two parallel lines going in the same direction, and I'm going to freehand the top. So now we just have a square. We're going to take this two-dimensional square, and we are going to make this into a box using proper perspective. Now, many of you tell me that you know how to draw a box in 3D, and you tend to show me this, which is certainly a trick, but it's not putting the box in proper perspective. Perspective is like math. 1 + 1 will always equal 2, okay? It's either right or it's wrong. 1 + 1 is not going to equal 3, and it's not going to equal 4. It's always going to equal 2. So same thing with perspective. It's either right or it's wrong. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to decide, I'm going to put two little dots right here. Okay, because that's where I'm going to draw my guidelines from. Now I want you to watch. I'm going to place those two lines, or those two dots right here, this dot and this dot. I'm going to place it so that it sits on the edge of the ruler. Now when I go to draw my line, I don't want to be holding my ruler down here, because if I draw my line, if I do put my dotted lines, this ruler could shift. So it's really important that we hold our ruler in the middle so that our ruler does not shift. Again, my two vanishing points are on the ruler, and I'm going to make a guideline going back to my vanishing point. I'm going to do the same thing over here, making sure, now if you have to turn your paper so that you can see it better, making sure that my two points here are on the ruler. I'm holding my ruler nice and straight and tight so that it doesn't shift, and this is what you should have. So I want you to take a minute and go and do those lines. You can pause the video if you'd like to, or you can just keep going. So you have to agree that this line is parallel to this line. Well, if I'm going to show you this box, okay, here's a box. So if we take a look at this box, you're going to notice that this line is parallel to this line. So right now we've just drawn this right here. Well, to end our box, we have to have this going in the exact same direction. So would you agree that this line is parallel to this line, which is parallel to this line? These are all going in the exact same direction. Well, that's exactly what we need to do over here. And there's two different ways that we can do this. So first of all, if I can take my ruler and I can line my ruler up with that line, and I can decide where I'm going to end my box. I would not end your box here. That's too close to this one. And I would not end your box way back here because that's a little bit too far away. So maybe just for this first time starting out, let's try something that's kind of like in the middle. So I'm going to put a little dot there. Now the line that I draw is going to connect this guideline to this guideline. But the line I draw from here to here has to be the same as this one. The back line has to be the same as the line that is in the front. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my ruler here. Now, one of the things you can do, you can put your ruler down, and if you're careful not to make your ruler shift, and you just slide this across, you can draw your line there. The other thing you can do is you can put your pencil on your dot, and you can take your ruler and you can make your ruler move your ruler until it's going in the same direction as this line right here, so that the ruler and this line are parallel. They're going in the same direction, and then you can draw the line down. Once you've drawn that line down and you have these three lines parallel to one another, then you can turn this guideline into a solid line, turn this guideline into a solid line, and then you're going to erase this middle and you'll erase the vanishing points. Now, one thing you need to know is that whenever you're doing one-point perspective, you're always going to go back to the vanishing point. We never have more than one point. We're always going back to the same point. Now, I want you to take a look at something, and then I'm going to pause this video, or I'm going to stop it, and I'm going to make a different one showing you something else. I want you to notice that this box here is showing the right-hand side of the box. This box is on the horizon line. If I were to draw a box down here and I were to make these go back to the vanishing point, and I'm just going to do this really quick so that you can see it. Notice I'm going from the corners that I'm going to see. I'm not going to see this corner here going back because it's going to go through the box. But if I were to do a box here, notice I'm seeing the front, I'm seeing the top, and I'm seeing the right-hand side. So tell me, if I were to draw a box here above the vanishing point, what sides am I going to see? If you said the front and the bottom, you are correct. If I were to draw a box over here, what sides would you see? If you said the front, the bottom, and the right-hand side, you are correct. If I were to draw a box over here, what sides would you see? If you said the front, the bottom, and the left-hand side, you would be correct. Now notice down here, my box is below the horizon line, therefore I'm seeing the top of the box. If my box is above the horizon line, I'm seeing the bottom. So what I want you to take away from this is that depending on where your box is or your shape is in relationship to the vanishing point, you're going to see different things. Now if do you see how you have a really long distance? You can see a wide top here. If I have a box that is very close to the horizon line and I make this go back, my top of my box is going to start looking thinner. It's not going to be as big. So that's a lot of information. So I want you to practice doing boxes in different placements respect to this vanishing point. But remember, you're not changing, you're not adding another point. You're always using this one. Also, one last thing, if I have something that, let's say I'm going to put a box, let's just say hypothetically I put a box right here, okay? If I'm trying to make this box go back to the vanishing point and this line goes on top or looks like it's going to bump into this box, I'm just going to stop that right there. Same thing here. If I had, this is coming down and this is coming down, notice I'm lining up my points on the ruler. Here's my point, here's my corner that I'm going to see. All right, and this one I'm not going to see because of where it's located. It goes through the box. I can make this box, let's say I'm going to end this box right here. Again, I have a vertical line, vertical line here. I can connect these to make these solid. Now the difference is this one. This is parallel to this is parallel to this. Well, if these two are parallel, then the line down here has to be parallel too, and I need to match it up with this side. Okay? So there's a practice. So I want you to practice some different areas, and you could try other boxes over here as well. Don't forget to put your name on your paper. Go ahead and try that. Have fun. Good luck. Take your time, use your ruler, and make sure you are using parallel lines.